Yeah,
Round one, Louis.
we are going to start the competition. First round, Federico.
Six and a half, 5.5, 5.
From all judges, 6.5.
Ahmed.
Lachlan.
Six and a half, 6.
6.5, 6.5, 7, 6, 7. Yasin. Six, 6.5, 7, 6.5. Yasin.
7, 8, 7.5, 8. Corlijn.
From all judges, 6. Done.
Four and a half, 5, 4.5. Elias.
6, 5.5, 6, 5.5, 5.5. Matthew.
Six and a half, 7.5, 6, 6.5, 8. Florian.
7, 7, 7, 6, 6.5. Tamim.
Four and a half, 5.
5.5, 6, 5, 5.5, 6. Rain.
Five and a half,
6, 6, 7, 6, 5.5. Done.
Francesco.
Fine. Six, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 6.
6.5, 7.
Round 2, Federico.
Ahmed.
Seven and a half, 6, 7, 6.5, 6.5.
6.
Lachlan.
Carter.
6 and a half, 6, 6 and a half, 6 and a half, 6 and a half. Yasin.
5 and a half, 6, 5, 6, 5. Jozef.
6, 6 and a half, 6 and a half, 6 and a half, 6 and a half. Yasin.
6 and a half, 6 and a half, 6, 7, 6. Round 2, Louis.
Five and a half, 6, 6, 6, 6. Done.
Six and a half, 7, 6 and a half, 6 and a
Four,
half,
4 and a
7.
half, 4, 4, 5.
Ahmed.
Matthew. 6 and a half, 6 and a half, 6 and a half, 6 and a half,
5,
6.
6, 5, 5 and a half, 5.
Tamim.
Stefano.
6, 6, 6, 6 and a half, 6 and a half. Rain.
6, 7 and a half, 7 and a half, 7 and a half, 8. Torley.
6, 6, 5 and a half, 6, 6. Done.
Five and a half, 5 and a half, 5, 5 and a half, 5 and a half.
6 and a half, 5 and a half, 6 and a half, 6, 5 and a half. Round 3, Federico.
Five and a half, 6 and a half, 5
4, 4 and a half,
6.
5, 4, 4. Lachlan.
Florian. 5, 5 and a half, 5, 5
6,
and a half,
6,
5.
5 and a half, 5 and a half, 5 and a half.
Tommaso.
Yasin. 4 and a half, 5 and a half, 5, 5, 5 and a
3 and a
half.
half, 4 and a half, 5, 4 and a half,
Yasin.
4. Francesco. 6.5, 6.5,
6, 6, 6.5, 6, 6. Done.
Ahmed,
6, 5.5, 6, 5.5, 5.
6, 6, 5.
Matthew.
Carter, 5, 5.5, 4.5, 5, 4.5.
5, 4.5, 4.5, 5, 4.5.
Jozef,
Tamim. 5.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6,
5,
6.
5, 5, 5, 4.
Ryan.
Round 3, Lewis.
Six and a half, 6, 6, 6.5, 6.5. Done.
6.5, 7, 6.5, 7, 6.5. Ahmed,
5, 5, 5.5, 4.5, 4.5.
5.5.
Round
6,
4,
6,
Federico.
6, 5.5. Stefano,
6, 6.5, 7, 6.5, 6.5. Lachlan. 6, 6.5, 6, 6, 5. Yasin.
Torley, 5.5.
6.5, 6.5, 6, 7, 6.5. Yasin.
Elias, 6,
6, 6, 6.5, 6, 6. Done.
Florian,
6, 5.5, 6, 5.5, 5.5. Matthew.
4, 4.5, 4, 3, 4. Tommaso.
Six and a half, 5, 6.5, 6, 6. Tamim.
Four and a half, 5.5, 6, 6, 5.5. Francesco.
6, 6, 6, 6, 6.5. Ryan.
Seven, 7.5, 6.5, 8, 7.5.
6, 6, 7, 6, 6.5. Done. From all judges, 6. Round 5, Federico.
7, 6. Carter. Five, 4.5.
4.5, 5, 4, 5, 5. Lachlan.
Jozef.
Five and a half, 6, 5, 5.5.
5.5, 6, 5.5.
Yasin.
Round 4, Louis.
Five, 4.5, 5, 6, 5.5. Yasin.
5, 6.5, 6, 6, 6. Ahmed.
Four, 4.5, 4.5, 4, 4. Done.
6, 3.5, 5, 4.5, 5. Stefano.
Four and a half, 4, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5. Matthew.
Eight, 7.5, 7.5.
5.5, 5, 4.5, 4.5, 6.
Tolle.
Tamim. 5,
From all
4,
judges,
5 and a half,
4.
4 and a half, 5.
Elias.
Ryan. Five and a half, 5 and a half, 6, 5 and a half, 5 and a half.
6
Done.
and a half, 7, 6, 5 and a half, 7. Florian.
Five, 4 and a half, 4 and a half, 4 and a half, 4. Round 6, Federico.
4, 4 and a half, 4, 4 and a half, 4. Tommaso.
Four and a half, 4, 4 and a half, 4, 4 and a half. Lachlan.
4 and a half, 4, 4 and a half, 5, 4 and a half.
4 and a half, 4 and a half, 5 and a half, 4 and a half, 5 and a half. Yasin.
Seven and a half, 8, 7 and a half, 7, 7 and a half. Ahmed.
Four, 5, 4, 4 and a half, 5. Yasin.
5 and a half, 5 and a half, 5 and a half, 5 and a half, 5. Carter.
Three and a half, 4, 3, 3 and a half, 3 and a half.
4, 5, 4 and a half, 4 and a half, 4
Done.
and a half. Jozef.
Four and a half, 5, 4 and a half, 5 and a half, 5. Matthew.
4 and a half, 4 and a half, 5 and a half, 4 and a half, 5 and a half. Round 5, Louis.
Four, 3, 3 and a half, 4, 3 and a half. Tamim.
6 and a half, 7, 6 and a half, 6 and a half, 7. Ahmed.
5 and a half, 6, 5, 5 and a half, 5 and a half. Ryan.
Four, 4 and a half, 4, 4, 4. Stefano.
4, 5, 4 and a half, 4, 5. Done. 4.5, 4, 4, 4, 4. Round 7, Federico.
7.5, 8, 8, 7.5, 8.5. Torlijf.
4, 4.5, 3.5, 4, 4. Lachlan.
4.5, 5, 4.5, 4, 4.5. Elias.
5, 4.5, 5, 5, 5.5. Yasin.
6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 7. Florian.
2.5, 2, 1.5, 2.5, 2. Yasin.
5.5, 6, 4.5, 5, 5.5. Tommaso.
4.5, 4, 2.5, 4, 4.5. Done.
Five, 5, 5, 6, 5.5. Francesco.
3, 3, 3.5, 4, 3. Matthew.
7.5, 7.5, 7, 7, 8.
6, 5.5, 6, 6, 5.5.
Ahmed.
Tamim. 3, 3, 3.5, 3.5, 3.5. Ryan.
Carter. 5.5, 5.5, 5, 5.5, 5.5.
5.5, 5.5, 6.5, 5.5, 5.5. Done. Five, 4, 5, 4, 4.5. Round 8, Federico.
Three and a half, 3, 3, 2, 3. Round 6, Lewis.
4.5, 5.5, 4.5, 5, 4.5. Laag lang.
Four and a half, 4, 4 and a half,
5.5, 5.5, 6, 5, 5.
Ahmed.
Yasin.
Four, 3.5, 3.5, 4, 3. Stefano.
5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 4.5, 5. Yasin.
Six, 7, 7, 6.5, 6.
5.5, 5, 5.5, 4.5, 5. Done. Four, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5.
4, 4.5, 3.5,
Matthew.
4. Elias.
Six, 6.5, 7, 6.5. Tamim.
Six, 5.5, 5.5, 6. Florian.
Three and a half, 2, 2, 2.5, 1.5. Ryan.
Four and a half, 4.5, 3.5, 4, 4. Tommaso.
4.5, 5, 4.5, 5, 5. Done.
Four and a half, 5, 5,
4,
4,
5, 5, 5, 4.5.
Francesco.
That was the last dive for this competition. Thank you, judges, secretary, and the divers.